Star Trek Starfleet Academy is guilty of many things.
Buns of steel, cadets.
Not easy being an admiral's daughter.
Takes daddy issues to a whole new level for sure.
Out of all the fetishes available, they shenaned once, they'll shenan again.
Well done, number one. Advise.
No, this is kid shit.
Forgive my language.
I'm pro kid shit.
I can make myself permeable, bitches! Growth!
Is anybody listening?
Star Trek Starfleet Academy is quite simply not good. But more than a mere mediocre byproduct of modern streaming, it represents a profound failure of science fiction. It's too on the nose. It's nearsighted, overly contemporary, and dumbed down for an audience that doesn't exist. But worst of all, it ignores the great distance. The essential ability of science fiction to disarm the audience through allegory and abstraction. When something fails this spectacularly, it offers a unique opportunity. By dissecting the creative failure of Starfleet Academy, it gives us an insight into what great science fiction should be. Science fiction should be a tool for exploring big concepts, a means to create the necessary creative distance from modern politics, and a pathway to expanding our own minds.
Science fiction has always been political. It's the most common refrain in modern media discourse, a shield used to deflect any criticism of how current stories are told. And on its face, it's true. Star Trek gave us the first televised interracial kiss. It tackled the Vietnam War via the hill people of Tyrese planet. But saying sci-fi is political is like saying architecture involves gravity. It's a foundational fact that tells you nothing about the beauty of the design. The real question isn't if science fiction should engage with our world, but how.
Historically, the best science fiction acted as a telescope. It pointed us toward the farthest reaches of the what if, allowing us to look back at Earth from so far away that the blurry details of our daily squabbles vanished, leaving only the grand, sharp outlines of our humanity. Today, however, the telescope has been replaced. In the era of Kurtzman-led Trek and with projects like Starfleet Academy, the telescope has been traded in for a mirror. We're no longer asked to imagine the unknown, we're asked to look at a myopic regurgitation of our own social media feeds, modern vernacular, and specific 2026 political anxieties. By trying to make the future relatable, we've only succeeded in making it small.
Today we're going to look at the death of the great distance and why science fiction is failing when it stops being a tool for ideas and starts being a seminar for the present.
Why do we need the alien? Why can't we just talk about our problems directly? This seems to be the discussion at the heart of what's going on with modern sci-fi. Projects like Starfleet Academy. See, what great science fiction does is it allows you to use the alien as a disarming tool. You know, the thing is, when you're thinking about the conflict between the Romulans and the Federation, you aren't thinking about your local election. You're thinking about the bigger concepts, you know, the nature of brinksmanship or the ethics of a preemptive strike.
Yeah, you get out of your head and away from the current real issues we're having in the real world, and you get transported to a completely different universe. And so you lose all of those other current issues and focus on something bigger than yourself.
Yeah, it allows you to engage with the idea on the most intellectual of levels, not mired down or not bogged down in the consequences if you were to vote on it in real life. When a story is set in the here and now, the audience walks in with their shields up. They have their partisan labels, their prepackaged opinions, and their tribal loyalties. If you write a story about a specific 21st century policy, half of your audience has finished the argument before the first act is even over.
I feel like highbrow sci-fi understands that to explore an uncomfortable idea, you must first strip it of its baggage. Think of the classic episode, Let That Be Your Last Battlefield. By making the racial conflict about two men who are black on the right side versus black on the left side, Trek forced 1960s audiences to see the sheer, logical absurdity of prejudice. It used the alien to bypass the viewer's ego. By creating a creative distance, sci-fi allows us to engage with the substance of a concept, justice, personhood, or sacrifice, without the superficial noise of modern labels. When you remove the distance, you remove the insight. But I think that's the whole point of good sci-fi, because it should make you defend a position you don't hold or question one you do.
Yeah, it should make you a little bit uncomfortable. It's the power of the unknown and sometimes the unknowable. The Strange has this really powerful way of disarming the audience. By making a conflict alien, the writers bypass the viewer's immediate defensive walls.
Yeah, it stops people from seeing, like, what would I normally choose? If this was something that I would be judged by other people, how would I want to be viewed by others? Because it makes it a more tribal thing when I feel like for sci-fi, it completely changes your viewpoints.
It allows you that distance, the distance you need to engage with it without fear of recourse.
Yeah, it stops you from shutting down the idea and actually engaging with it.
Because, you know, at the end of the day, we're not talking about an actual policy or something that can be voted on. We're just talking about a hypothetical in the distant future in a space station very far. With Starfleet Academy, we see a shift in philosophy. The goal is no longer to make things alien, but to modernize. But the thing is, in modern sci-fi, modernizing is often code for shrinking. When characters in the 32nd century speak in 21st century slang, deal with 21st century neuroses.
Do you find it challenging to be a war college douchebag?
Know your best.
Dude, I just got smacked in the head.
And engage in social dynamics that feel like a contemporary university seminar, the future ceases to exist. It's just the present with a different coat of paint. I think the problem with the Kurtzman era of Trek and shows like Starfleet Academy is that they fall in this direct conversation trap. It's in such stark contrast with old Trek. Old Trek would use allegory and metaphor.
Yeah, they would use like the Horta, a giant blob, to start a conversation about empathy.
Put yourself in their shoes for a sec. The E word.
What?
Empathy.
Yeah, whereas Kurtzman's approach is to have characters who just speak, act, vent, like they're still in the 21st century. It sounds like they're social media influencers.
My 12 to 6 is your 6 to 12. So think about that.
What?
I feel like the biggest issue with trying to make Starfleet Academy relatable to a younger audience is that they're making the world so small.
Yeah, it's this idea that it has to be relatable to have impact. And that's never been something that was necessary with great science fiction. In fact, by chasing that, it's almost an admission that they know it's not great science fiction. That's not even good science fiction. Nobody looks at the great science fiction works of the past like Dune and thinks, oh, well, I don't get it, dude. Like,
Yeah, I can't relate to it.
I can't relate to it. Being able to relate to science fiction has never been a necessary component.
Yeah, a prerequisite to be able to engage with it.
Yeah, you should be able to empathize. You should be able to think hypothetically, but you don't need to see yourself reflected. And that's just a real sign that people aren't engaging, that they're expecting it to be made more like them.
No, that it's supposed to meet them.
Yeah. And I don't think that science fiction should meet you halfway. I think science fiction should draw you into the unknowns where you can find the interest in the idea, the exploration of the idea.
And sadly, with Starfleet Academy, the future looks and sounds like a teen drama.
So you decided to join the asshole factory instead.
Oh, and we're done.
Look, I didn't mean you're an asshole. I'm the asshole, okay?
And so the sense of post-scarcity and human evolution is completely lost.
Well, and I think it's just cynical. By making Star Trek feel more like a teen drama, it's like you're assuming that the audience can't handle the depth that comes with like great science fiction.
Yeah, they're too dumb, that they can't comprehend it.
And it's like, why are you making things for people that you don't think are capable of understanding it? Like, who would want to sit there and have to curate their show for an audience who they don't think is capable of engaging with it at the level that you should aspire to?
That's necessary.
I think I swallowed my com badge.
Already.
Instead of an exploratory mission where the crew discovers a moral dilemma, we get characters who already have the correct answers, repeatedly turning to the audience to ask, did you get it? Usually through painful, spoon-fed exposition. It ignores the greatest strength of the genre, the ability to let the audience do the work.
One of the most misunderstood elements of Star Trek is the post-scarcity society. Modern critics often mistake this for a specific political endorsement, a socialist utopian dream. But in the best sci-fi, post-scarcity isn't an ideology, it's a thought experiment. It asks, what is left of a human being when you take away the need to survive?
Where did they find these people?
The thing about the Federation is that it isn't a socialist paradise in the modern political sense. It's a technological result. The great thing about Star Trek is if you just assume that we've reached a point in history where it's just all figured out, through technology, we've cured almost every illness and we've solved almost every problem that comes with scarcity, we can move away from the more Malthusian ideas about how humans interact and really just look at the aspirational, like what would a human do without that burden?
Yeah, without that baggage.
Well, and it allows you to dismantle any pragmatic pushback. When you deal with politics, people often say, oh, it's a great idea, but we can't do it. It's not financially feasible, or we don't have the resources. By stripping all that away, you're just like, okay, now how do you feel about it? And it is just hypotheticals for hypothetical sake. It allows you to engage with the true idea and the true meaning behind the idea.
Most of our modern politics, left or right, is rooted in the management of scarcity. When you force 21st century political bickering into a society that has solved energy and hunger, you aren't being realistic. You are failing to engage with the premise. Great sci-fi allows us to look past the pragmatism that limits our current debates and explore the evolution of the soul.
I think Star Trek, when it's at its best, it looks past the pragmatic. It asks, if we solve every physical need, who would we be? Whereas modern Trek often answers, we'd still be arguing about the very same things we're arguing about right now. We'd be on the same terms. And I think it's just a failure of imagination. There's a certain irony in modern sci-fi's attempt to be inclusive, while simultaneously treating its audience like they lack the intelligence to understand a metaphor. The typical sci-fi lover is an explorer of the deep hypothetical. They don't want to be coddled. They want the measure of a man, a courtroom drama about a robot's soul, not a lecture on why they should be nice to their neighbors.
When a show assumes you can't handle a complex, morally gray area without a moral compass character telling you exactly what the takeaway is, it ceases to be art and becomes a lecture.
Is anybody listening?
It's insulting.
It's almost like they're searching for an audience who doesn't care that they're being talked down to.
Why are none of you crying?
I'll cry.
Quiet!
The beauty of science fiction is that it expands the mind by trusting us to bridge the gap between the alien world and our own. Now, we often see dumbed-down science fiction defended by appeals to political ideology. If you went thought-provoking Star Trek instead of being spoon-fed, you will run into a chorus of people screeching, "It wasn't made for you," hiding behind the belief that you wanting more from your science fiction must be a sign of political misalignment.
This is one of the most ignorant takes possible. Because the open-mindedness required for sci-fi isn't a loyalty test for liberalism or conservatism. It's a cognitive willingness to engage with complex, often contradictory ideas. Science fiction is for anyone who can look at a Romulan, a Klingon, or a Borg and see a facet of themselves.
Yeah, the open-mindedness of sci-fi isn't a political loyalty test, it's a cognitive trait. You can have a liberal who can enjoy the discipline and duty of Starfleet. You can have a conservative who can enjoy watching the post-nationalist cooperation. You don't have to be reduced to your current political position.
Yeah, because when you reduce it to current thing versus other current thing, you alienate the very people who enjoy the complexity of the genre.
Yeah, it seems like they're inviting people who want the political fight and not people who want to engage with the ideas or just engage with science fiction ideas in general. I think you can always tell the type of people that are guilty of this. They're usually the type of people that try to cancel or critique classic science fiction themes because they don't align with their current political position. I think it just proves that they're not capable of engaging with the hypothetical distance that's necessary for enjoying science fiction.
Yeah, I think it kind of exposes those people as people who don't want to actually engage in thoughts.
They want to hear an echo of people affirming that they are currently right.
Yeah, or just reaffirming their very beliefs that they already hold.
It's hard to grasp the idea of no gender.
It is just as hard for us to understand the strange division in your species. Males and females.
You should never consume science fiction expecting it to perfectly align with your worldview. If it does, it's not science fiction, it's propaganda. If you aren't occasionally made uncomfortable by a hypothetical, you aren't actually engaging with the genre.
The thing is, when Star Trek's great, it can transcend your ideology.
Is anybody listening?
We are at a crossroads. We can continue to produce sci-fi that functions as a comfort blanket, confirming our biases and reflecting our current social media dramas back at us. Or we can return to the stars. We need science fiction to be rooted in the future, in the hypothetical, a place where the mind is stretched by the impossible, not a mirror of our current failures. Science fiction at its best doesn't tell us what to think about the present. It gives us the tools to imagine a future where we've become something more.